We've finally done it. We have bought some land. We have 40 acres of trees and raw land here in central Vermont, and today we're going to show you around. Hello and welcome back to Adventurous Way. I'm Matt.
And I'm Diana.
And if you've been following our channel for a while, you'll know that we've been looking to buy some land here in Vermont where we can build a home base for ourselves. And we've done it. We've finally done it. Just yesterday, we closed on this parcel of land. We are really excited. We have never owned land before. This is a major, major milestone in our journey, and it's kind of crazy, and we want to share it with you. So we've been sharing our whole journey about not just our RVing journey, but also our experience trying to buy land and the process of that. And a few weeks ago, we shared one of the disappointments we'd had where we'd put an offer in on some land and it fell through. Today, we have the good news to share. This offer was not only accepted, but the entire process has gone through, and this land is ours.
It's quite unbelievable. This is, as you said, we never owned real estate before, and this is first time our journey like this to develop land from absolutely nothing.
So the last offer that we put in that fell through was back in March. And it was really just a couple of weeks after that offer was rejected that we decided to start looking for land again. And looking, really changing our search criteria just a little bit. And one of the things that we had said was an absolute must-have for us is we didn't want any zoning laws on the property. And a big reason for that was we knew that we wanted to have our RV on the property that we could live in while we built the house. But also we wanted RVing friends to be able to come and visit, and we didn't want zoning laws that were going to prohibit that. But when we actually looked at it, we found that really narrowed down the number of properties quite a lot. And when the other offer fell through, we decided to revisit that and see if, instead of saying no zoning whatsoever, what would it look like if we said, well, we'll check the zoning laws in each town, which is what you have to do around here to make sure they're okay.
Yeah, zoning laws are not by county, they are by each town in Vermont.
Yeah, so we kind of found a few more properties that we thought would be good candidates when we started to relax that criteria to say zoning laws are okay as long as they let us do what we want to do.
Yeah, and there are different towns have different laws. Some of them can be very restrictive, like you can't have an RV for more than 2 weeks out of the year on the property staying there. But some other ones are a lot more permissive, that you can have it for 6 months or even longer, as long as kind of requirements are met. It's pretty good, I think.
We didn't have to get far from the road before you couldn't really see the road. We've been on this road now for 45 minutes or something, between stopping and chatting and things. And we've seen like 3-4 cars.
Yeah, it's very quiet.
The property itself was nice. It's a little steep at the front. Like, I would tow the RV up there, but in any kind of inclement conditions, it would probably be a little tricky. In general, it's a really nice neighborhood.
Yes.
So
all the other houses are nice.
I
mean, like, look at that. Like, this is a neighborhood.
Yeah, they're larger lots. Some beautiful views out here.
Yeah.
We've got power on the road at this one.
Fiber.
He said that the fiber company literally came to their house to start arranging appointments to install their system this morning, and what's the date today? 3rd of April.
Yeah.
So almost certainly by the time we could even get the property, we'd have fiber there.
Yeah.
Verizon signal was pretty good.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we didn't measure, but there was signal. I was able to load stuff up. And
AT&T signal was almost non-existent. I had a little bit, on the road down here, I've got 1 bar of 4G. I had nothing up on the land itself.
Squishy.
We found the pond. It's pretty overgrown around the pond.
Very wet in front of it, or around it.
Yeah, very wet all around. I feel like
we should investigate it further.
So it was just under 6 weeks ago that we finally decided to put an offer in on this property. We had been out to view it a couple of times. We'd seen that the zoning laws let us do what we wanted to do. And after more research, we decided to go ahead with the offer. After just a little bit of back and forth with the sellers, we had an offer accepted just over 5 weeks ago.
Yep.
And that kicked off the inspection period. So
the contingency period,
sorry, yes.
Yeah.
So the way that it works here in Vermont, at least, with buying land like this, is you have this this contingency period where you do any of those kind of tests and checks and things that you need to do to satisfy yourself that this land is going to work for you. And then you have, after that, a period of time when all the attorneys do their attorneying or something, and they do what they need to do. They do title searches, they check documents, they get things signed, they get all the monies arranged. And again, this probably looks different in a non-pandemic time. We've never met the seller in person. This has all been done electronically. If you watched our last video about our disappointment on the last property, you may remember one of the things we said is that it didn't take us back to square one. We already had a lot of the people lined up. So we had our attorney lined up, we had the soil engineer lined up,
Yes.
such that just even before the offer was accepted, we gave him a call and said, hey, heads up, we're feeling pretty confident about this. Do you have any space available soon? And so that when our offer was accepted, it was only a few days later that we were actually out on site with the soil engineer to do the soil testing, which is a key contingency. That's like the most important one.
Yes, in Vermont, you have to get a wastewater permit before you can build anything. And that is a state level permit. Even in towns that don't have zoning laws, you still have to get a state level wastewater permit. So this is the key factor to be able to build on the land.
Yeah. So they come out, they do this soil test. And what was super cool is this engineer is well known in the area. He's been doing it for a long time. And he was actually able to bring the state inspector along to our property with him, so that when we do put in that application for the permit, the state inspector can be like, oh yeah, I remember this one. I know it was done properly, I know it's all good, and hopefully that should help things go through a little bit quicker. The next few weeks after that, not a lot happened. We came out to the land a few times. We wanted to make sure we could find all of the boundaries.
Yeah.
We walked as much of the land as we could.
We did a bunch of calls to local utility companies and
town officials,
making sure we really understand the zoning laws, and it all was all good.
A normal title search around here, I think, is about, you go back 40 years. And they're really looking for anything in that chain, the title chain going back, that would indicate there could be a problem. So an old right-of-way that hadn't been properly recorded all the way through, or a mortgage that was outstanding on the property. And it's one of those things you want to do so that you can get the title insurance, so that should anyone come forward and say, look, I have a claim against your land, your title insurance will protect you from that. So we actually asked our attorney to go back further than the 40-year standard, just because we tend to be fairly risk-averse people on things like this. This is a huge transaction in our lives, and for the extra few $100s, it was worth it to us. And
we're not experienced in this at all, so we wanted all the insurances that we could get.
Yeah, so our attorney went back even further, which is good. And then last couple of days, it's all been coming together. And finally, yesterday, we had the email from our attorney to say, congratulations, the land is yours.
We are so excited. Like this is going to be amazing to build a home base for us, and with having 40 acres, that's unlimited amount of projects to do.
Yes, I think we're going to be very busy doing a lot of things. And just to be clear, this isn't us stopping RVing. We love RVing and we want to keep doing it. This is like another adventure we want to have in parallel. So our travel is slowed with the pandemic and things, as it has for many people. But once things sort of start opening up again, we want to get it back out there and travel. So we're trying to find a way that we can do both, that we can have our house as our home base, but also still get out and travel maybe a few months each year, or vacations, or who knows at this stage. But that chapter has not closed. That's still something we want to do. And explore all the national parks in this area and around the country as well.
And obviously we will be still living in the RV while we build the house.
That will be our home for quite a while still to come. So today we're really excited to show you around the property, talk about what we've got on the property here, some of the different features and things, and also our plans, what we want to do here, both in the very short term and longer term, or what we're trying to achieve. Before we jump into that, let's just talk about the location. So we're here in central Vermont, and we don't really want to give a lot more than that away in terms of the location. As much as it is a paradox, I know we're sharing our lives and our story and our journey online because we hope it can inspire and help other people. We also do want to retain some privacy for ourselves. The last thing we want is people turning up unannounced at our property. That would not be cool. So we're not going to reveal anything more about location other than to say it is 40 acres in central Vermont. So why don't we take you on a tour of the property? One of the things this property has is a logging trail, this old road, I guess, that came up through the property. And we've been using this to get around and explore it. As we're walking on it now, it feels pretty wide. We can walk side by side.
Although right now it feels slightly less wide than before because all the trees have leaves on, and we now have seen the property, you know, in March, end of March, April, while there was still snow on it. So
And pretty deep snow as well.
yeah, so we have seen it change, and it's pretty incredible. I'm very excited to live in Vermont with all 4 seasons and seeing all these leaves turn colors in the fall. So one stop here, kind of through the woods back there is a pond, and we don't know quite yet like what we can do with that pond and how we can improve it, but it's kind of cool to have a pond on the property.
For sure. And it's definitely in need of some love, that pond.
Yeah.
So the trail climbs up from the road. It's it feels fairly wide when you're walking it. We did try with a truck.
Yep.
We tried driving up. That didn't go very well at all. So I think we're gonna have to clear some space on this trail fairly quickly. One of the things we'll talk about later is the driveway. This road will actually become a driveway for the property. And one of the reasons for that is the pond has a spring on the uphill side. We're gonna have to have a septic system for the house and the RV and things. That septic system cannot be closer than 500 feet from the spring if the spring is downhill from the septic system.
If the spring is used.
If the spring is used, which it is. Well, there's rights to it, at least on this one.
Yeah.
Which forces us to build our house at least 500 feet further up from the spring, which does mean a long driveway. And God, it's a bit steep here.
Yeah. Well, I suppose you could have put the house like below it, but that would be very close to the road.
Be very close to the road.
And since we have so much land, we would like to have that privacy to be a little bit set back from the road.
So where we're walking now is roughly going to be our driveway. Some of these steeper sections will sort of add contours or add loops to the driveway, I guess, to just flatten it out a little bit. The challenge, and this is one of the big things as we were going through the process that we had to think about, driveways are not cheap. It's not just the driveway itself, but it's running the utilities. Electric, fiber, these things cost a lot of money, and we think the driveway is going to be about 1,000 feet long. So it's a pretty big driveway, and that adds a lot of cost to the whole process. So that was definitely a consideration as we were going. The woods here, the forest.
Oh yeah, so
everything you've seen so far is it's been hardwood, mixed hardwood. But check this out. Check how it just changes here into a lot of spruce, a lot of softwood, and yeah, it's really pretty.
This kind of made us fall in love with the property, because when we saw it, it was, you know, early spring in the forest with the green moss covered ground, and we call it the magical forest because it's really that pretty.
So yeah, we'll keep going. So the front section there is reasonably steep, nothing too crazy, but reasonably steep, enough that it's hard to film and and walk at the same time.
So, and about here, it kind of flattens out.
Yeah.
And then kind of in distance, can't see it right now because it's a cloudy day, but you can just about peek through and see the mountain range across the valley on the other side.
And where we're looking that way now, that is pretty much due south. So the slope kind of goes down southwest, over that, I guess west down there, but we have a southwesterly aspect, which if we want to start doing solar and things like that is really useful. Also, when we think about the design for a passive house is really useful, because having that big kind of southwest or southerly facing window to get all that solar passive gain is going to be really useful. But as you can probably see, the forest here, it's in need of some clearing. A lot of fallen trees, a lot of branches, a lot of debris. Great for the wildlife in many ways, but we do want to see if we can clear it up. The forest is generally pretty healthy. There's definitely some things we can do to improve that. But overall, it's a pretty healthy kind of forest.
It is pretty young forest, right? It's about 60, 70 years.
Yeah, it was logged at some point in the past. So a lot of as you can see kind of behind me back here, we'll keep walking. A lot of the spruce, you'll notice, are quite small, quite young, which is good. So we can clear these out and help make a little bit more space. And actually, this area is one that we are thinking of clearing a lot of space out, because this behind me is where we're thinking of putting the house.
Yeah.
So you may just be able to see these ribbons. They mark where we did some test pits, so we can go and have a look at those. So you can see down here, when we came out to dig the test pits for the septic, we also got the engineer to dig a couple of extra holes to check what the ground was like here and whether it was going to be suitable for installing or building a house in the foundations. So this is feeling like a pretty good site for us at the moment.
Yeah.
Good location in terms of the driveway just there. Good location in terms of the slope of the land, gives us enough slope to play with, but also good soil and things for installing the house or the foundations.
But this is kind of only a rough idea because, I mean, it's still fairly larger area where you could put the house. So we'll be working with an architect to come up with a plan of where exactly to put the house. And obviously the house plans as well.
Yeah. So this logging trail here that we've been walking on, we've essentially just walked up what will become the driveway. From here, this logging trail continues deep into the forest. It explores the rest of the acreage on the property. It splits off in a number of different forks as well. And we want to add some more trails to that. We don't know everything that's on this property. We found a few cool kind of areas, but I think there is a lot more to find on this property.
Yeah.
We found there's a little stream from the pond that feeds the pond and comes out of the pond down there.
Found another stream.
Another stream further back in the property. So there's a lot here that we found already. There's probably also a lot more that we haven't found yet.
Yes, no, definitely. We have not walked every inch through it. And I'm really excited to take long walks in the woods and create some new trails.
Yeah. So the last thing to show you here, just near the house site, is where we want to put the septic. And you'll notice we are still walking uphill, which therefore means the septic will be higher up than the house.
And it's not necessarily where we necessarily wanted to put the septic, but the soil engineer, or with the help of excavator, they dug a whole bunch of pits to try out and see what the soils are. And this is kind of the area where they finally found test pits that were deep enough for the system.
Vermont is renowned for having really poor soil for septic systems. So we knew that it wasn't going to be easy to find a site, and we know it's going to be expensive.
Yeah.
That was something we knew going into this.
So
they dug probably 15 test pits or so.
Yep.
To try and find a location for it. So we're sort of at the mercy of where we found the septic site. So our two options for the house are, one, go higher, so go further back in the property. And we went and looked to see if we could find some good house sites back there. The problem is, as you go further back, you lose some of those real nice views because it starts to flatten out a bit.
And you would have to clear a lot more to open it up if you wanted to have views, which, I mean, seems silly to clear unnecessarily large amount of trees.
And the other thing is it adds to the price of the driveway and the utilities, which can be tens of thousands of dollars to extend that driveway up. So option two is you go lower down from the septic system, and then you have to install a pump, basically, that will pump the stuff from the septic tank up to the leach field. This isn't uncommon. It's a relatively well-known, well-done kind of thing these days. Speaking to our engineer about it, he's been doing them for a long, long time and has no concerns about that kind of system. The pumps have got a lot better over time and are generally considered to be very, very reliable. Yeah. The other thing you may consider is, like, do you want to be downhill from your own septic system? That sounds like super gross. And we had the exact same reaction. We spent a lot of time talking with our engineer about it and what that would look like. And actually, the way that the land kind of topography is here, the septic system actually slopes off in a different direction. So although it's technically uphill, there's a little ridge essentially between us and the house site here. And so actually any flow will not head towards the house.
Yeah.
And if it did overflow, anything crazy happened, again, the house would not be in its path. So again, it's not ideal. It's not what we would have chosen if it had been like a clean canvas to do anything we wanted with. But you got to work with the land. You got to work with what's available. And this is something that we feel we can deal with. Our engineer, like I said, had no concerns. So we're standing here right now on the location where the septic will be installed. That's something that we're hoping we can do ourselves. The engineer will do the permits and all the drawings and the design and the layouts and things.
And the inspection.
And the inspections. But the actual construction of it, We think we can do a lot of that. Maybe not all. Maybe not the septic tank install ourselves, but particularly for the leach field, these are things we want to see if we can do ourselves.
So we have 3 test pits here. Here's one, but there is a second one, and there's a third one, and the system will be within this area. So here you have it. This is kind of the property that we bought, and we're super excited to start working on. So what's next?
So overall, we are splitting this kind of build into 3 phases. Phase 1 is basically getting to the point where we can get the RV onto the property and live in the RV here very comfortably. So basically that means having all the utilities installed, pulling up the electric, the fiber internet that we have down at the road, digging the well, installing the septic system, and then we're going to be building like a mechanical building. This is where we'll terminate all of those utilities, house all of the kind of the any water filters, boost pumps, the electrical will terminate there. All those sorts of things will happen in that small mechanical building. We'll have the driveway installed. We'll have an RV pad where we can park the RV. So that's really phase 1 of the building. And aspirationally, we are hoping to complete that this year before winter.
But, you know, who knows?
Yeah, we don't have, one of the things that going into this we don't have is hard deadlines. We're really trying to avoid that. But that doesn't mean we're trying to move slowly. We want to be aggressive. We want to move quickly. This is where we're going to be doing all of the work ourselves wherever possible. We'll obviously bring in people where, like, we're not going to be drilling a 300-foot well ourselves.
And for driveway as well, we'll need help with that.
And the driveway, yeah.
So this whole kind of depends of how soon we can get people in to do the stuff that they need to do. And also materials are, you know, if any materials are not available, that will obviously delay. And we do need to get some permits. So first, we need to get the wastewater permit from the state. Then to start the driveway, we need to get a road access permit to get a curb cut on the road.
The way we walked up onto the property today isn't even a legal kind of like property access, like a proper curb cut. That's just an old agricultural logging access.
Yeah.
So we need to get a proper one of those.
And then for the house build, we do need a zoning permit. So it's kind of like a building permit, but it's really just a zoning permit which makes sure that we are going to do here what the zoning allows, which allows to build a house, but they will not have any inspections required. But in the end, so there won't be building inspections, but in the end there will be inspection to grant the certificate of occupancy.
Yeah. And we're trying to build everything really well, and we'll talk more about this in upcoming videos, but we want to build a passive house. We want it to be well in excess of the code minimum requirements. We don't have the experience to do that ourselves today. So for us, this is going to be a huge learning opportunity. There's a lot of things we've already got in motion so that we feel confident that we can do this to a high quality and also to do it safely. Various training courses and enrolling the help of professionals where we need them. But one of the big things that we're really trying to figure out right now, and I think we've got a good handle on, is the sequencing of everything.
Yes.
You have to do everything in a particular order.
Yes, the dependencies between things.
It's crazy. So for example, this property doesn't even have an address right now. And so you think, okay, well, go get an address. But to get an address, you have to have a driveway. But to get a driveway, you have to have, and it goes on and on like this. One of the things on this property that we haven't talked about is it's currently in current use. Current use is something in Vermont that basically allows you to declare a portion of your property or the whole property, if it's over 25 acres, as being kind of not something you're going to build on. It's forest that you're going to maintain properly for the purposes of creating a great kind of timber product ultimately, or something similar to that.
Or recreational access, whatever goal you have, just not developed land.
So currently this whole property is in current use. And so as part of the transfer, we have to transfer that current use over so that we become the owners of that. But we're also then going to take the house site out of current use. So we need to work with a forester on that. So there's this whole like chain of events that have to happen in order just to get something simple like a house number and a mailbox.
Yeah, and the advantage of the current use is that you get reduction in the property taxes for taking care of the forest.
Yeah, and these are all things we knew before we went into this. These aren't things we've just discovered in the last 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So we've been considering all of these things carefully before we put in the offer and through that contingency period and beyond.
So we talked about the house, so that will be the phase 2 of the build, to build a house, and we'll if all goes well, we'll probably target starting that next year.
Yeah, I don't think, even if we did finish the phase 1 this year, I don't think we would start trying to build in winter.
Oh, no.
So we'd wait until this time next year. Maybe, hopefully, fingers crossed by then, a lot of building material prices like lumber and conduit and all these things, concrete, will have started to come back down in price. They are crazy at the moment. So we'll just have to see what happens there. But yeah, like you say, phase 2, building the house, would be next year. But we do want to start working with the architect with that in mind from the start, so that our site plan is laying out where everything will go, not just to get an RV on here, but the house and beyond.
And beyond the phase 3, we'll plan to build like a barn / garage / workshop, something like that, and that's probably going to be, some years down the line.
Yeah.
But thinking about it, where it will go, we should figure that out now.
For sure. So there you have it. That is kind of our overall crazy plan of how we're going to turn 40 acres of raw land into our home base. We are really excited about this. It's kind of scary. There's so much that we're learning. There's so much that we just know we don't know at this point in time. But we feel we've got a really good set of people around us already, in terms of the architects, the engineer, all these other people that we've been working with so far have been absolutely fantastic. And we are really looking forward to this project, and we really hope that you join us for this project and this journey. And yeah, hope you enjoy it as much as we do.
So we hope you join us in our new adventure of building this home base, and stick around and subscribe.
And we'll see you in the next video, where we are going to be trying to clear this trail just enough to get the truck up here onto the land. We tried doing that once before and it did not go well, so we know we've got a little bit of work to do there. We've worked out the plan for clearing trees. We're just going to push them over. I mean, yeah. I pushed that first one over. I didn't even mean to.